All right, guys, we got another awesome image for you today. This is from the Supreme team. This is OP5. This is the upgraded version to Pi Resurrection. This one is fully loaded. If you guys remember last time, showcased a lot of the cloud streaming. That one you guys could add ROMs to it and whatnot, but this one I decided to create a 256 gigabyte preloaded image for you just to get most of you all started. Added a lot of the favorite systems on here, even though I'm not going to showcase any of this stuff. This is not the reason why you decided to go out and spend $127 or so on an Orange Pi 5 for emulation. But I'm going to go through all of these. Want to show you everything that I personally added for you to help you get started. And also too, I definitely want to say that I think we've reached the point past creating a lot of loaded images. They going forward would be pointless in a lot of cases. I'll explain that here in this video today, but wanted to give you all a showcase about what is included with this. If you guys remember the last time I did that video live stream with the Pi Resurrection, which was Supreme Beta 8. This is based off of the same thing. There's a few improvements added to this. Of course, this one is preloaded. This won't be for subscribers for the most time. It may come out eventually. Not sure. And then, of course, we will have some additional releases for the general public. So right now we have over 10,000 games on here. I am using a Orange Pi 5B. This also works on the Orange Pi 5. This does not work with the Orange Pi 5 Plus. Want to make sure that's clear. It has a different boot code. We could get that working on there. If somebody wants to send some boards over or whatever, be my guest. We could go ahead and get that up and running for you. And then, of course, I am using a SanDisk regular, I think it's an Ultra card that I'm using. So you want to make sure that you have at least 238 gigabytes fully available. This is not shrunk. You want to make sure that you have the exact same file size. I don't think the Samsung one will work. You need to make sure that you have a good SanDisk SD card in order for this to work. Make sure it has the allocated file space available. So we do have Sega Saturn, Scum 32X, Super Nintendo, Wii, WonderSwan, WonderSwan Color, E-Machine, all games 10,257. There's some light gun games in here, guys. You know, I make sure I added those in here. 17 3DO. Arcade Classics. This is 2,867, which is one of the largest ROM sets around. Created this back when I made Venom, so this pretty much has the same typical ROM set that is available on here. Atari 2600, 5200, 78. We're not showcasing any of that stuff. That's not why we're here. We got Link 76. 3DO does run good. I definitely want to admit that. Chromium. This will take you to your cloud gaming. You guys have seen this before. Takes you right into your Xbox Cloud Gaming. You want to make sure that you guys have a subscription for all of these. NVIDIA Cloud Gaming with Ubisoft Gaming and everything as well. So some of those additional services are built in with NVIDIA and Luna Cloud Gaming, with the, which is also Amazon Cloud Gaming. Most of that's already built in. And then, of course, you also have and Stream Cloud Gaming. So again, each one of those requires some type of membership. If you already have it, you guys can go ahead and take advantage of it. Daphne, we have 18 games on here, and this is using Daphne Hephaestus Singe. So you will be getting the updated version of some of these. There will be some graphical errors. I wouldn't really call them errors, but you won't see the video marquees or whatever pop up on the right over there, but they're there. I don't have time to tinker around with it to make sure everything pops up. You guys can tinker around with that if you will, but the games do work. We got some Dreamcast and stuff on here, so everything that you guys have seen with the Pi 4 is emulatable on the Orange Pi 5. Now, if you guys do have a question like, hey, what is the difference between the Orange Pi 5 and the Raspberry Pi 5 coming out, I will have a separate video for that explaining everything. I don't want to take up too much time, but based upon the specs that I have seen, the Orange Pi 5 is much more powerful than the Raspberry Pi 5. Just in terms of that. But however, the Raspberry Pi community, much more support. And there's some things over here that is kind of frustrating about the Orange Pi, and so, but I'm happy with this. And please keep in mind that this is my own personal project. This is not something a company sent over for me to review or do some development work on. This was my own money, my own time, along with members of the Supreme team. We helped make this happen, along with you Patreon supporters. Thank you. Thank you for standing by us and trusting us to get you guys this far. So some of the new add-ons on here, there's been a lot of modifications. If you guys aren't aware, Emulation Station does not have PlayStation 2 emulation built in whatsoever. That had to be and there are a lot of things that you can do within Retropie, or I would say on a single board computer, such as like Sega Model 2 and 3. You can run that from desktop, however, it's not built in to Emulation Station. So PlayStation, we have 195 games on here. We got options. Let's go through this really quickly. We have some ambient configuration, Bluetooth, Emulation Station themes. There are some new themes that can take available of the new Emulation Station protocols. Haven't fully gone through all those. We have Switcheroo, Emulation Station, Kodi. I haven't touched Kodi at all. It does work. If you guys were probably thinking about using another Orange Pi image, most people do not have Kodi installed. In fact, that was one of the programs that could not get installed originally. We had to find some workarounds for that. We got File Manager. We got some themes on here, launching screens, RetroArch, Retropie setup. Most of everything has already been done for you, and we also have the Supreme Online Toolkit. Please do not upgrade or update. There's really nothing to do on here. Sega Saturn, we also have some better Virtua Fighter and Time Crisis emulation on here. I didn't add Time Crisis to this one. You guys can load that yourselves. And then, of course, we have the Street Fighter collection. I just kind of added some stuff in here to just kind of fill it up because it wouldn't have made sense for me to, if I had just released this on a 256, it would have been 256 and then it would have been an unusable space. That's because Pi Shrink doesn't work right now on this type of system. Pi Shrink, which allows us to shrink down the full image even if the space isn't being used, erases all that allocated file storage even though it's not really being used. So I decided to fill it up anyway. It would have been a waste of time. Super Nintendo 786. We got some Nintendo Wii games in here. Just decided to throw a couple in there on that. House of the Dead works pretty good. Tatsunoko versus Capcom will run full speed if you run it from the desktop OS. But we're not working with that. But when you use Emulation Station or Retropie, it takes a performance hit. So I just added it on there just for the heck of it. All games again, 10,250, 257. We got the noticeable favorites for arcades that you guys are familiar with. We're not going to go through any of these, but let's take a look at one of the reasons why a lot of people want to get an Orange Pi 5 or some of the new single board computers will be the PlayStation 2 emulation and some of the other systems. So the biggest advantage on here is that you will have Time Crisis 2 running really well. It does have a little bit of slowdown time in a couple places, but other than that, on Retropie, it's very much playable. In fact, I really enjoy it. There's roughly about 3 games on here. We have Time Crisis 2, Def Jam Vendetta, and also added Shadow of the Colossus, which it doesn't really run that well. You can run it really good if you run it from desktop. Again, I'll do a separate video on that, showing you guys comparison differences. But again, for the most part, I'm pleased with where we are and giving you guys that special cloud gaming as well as using this for your emulation desktop environment or emulation environment. So let's go ahead, before I get into some gameplay, I definitely want to say too, that I think we've reached the end or the crossroads in terms of making loaded images. Reason I say that is because you're not going out buying these more expensive single board computers to play Super Mario Brothers and Nintendo and all the other little basic stuff. You're doing it for the PlayStation 2s, your Dreamcast, your Sega Saturns and whatnot. And so just to give you guys a little bit of understanding, the entire PlayStation 2 library runs at about 25 terabytes. That's 25 terabytes. So imagine, typically, when we make, when people make images, you're thinking 32 gigabytes, 64, 128. Those were the common ones when, making Retropie images. And then, of course, we started having 256, and then 500, 512, whatever. 400, and then we started getting up to 1 terabyte and 2 terabytes for some of the single board computers. The problem is this: after you start adding in your media, all the way up to like Sega Saturn or Sega, let's say Dreamcast, Sega Saturn, and so forth, that's all the lower end stuff. Like if you add in all your marquees, your video marquee, video snaps, your games, that gets really heavy on a lot of smaller stuff. And so even if I added about 25 PlayStation 2 games, that's roughly about 500 gigabytes. And so you imagine if I needed to create an image with just a lot of the basic stuff and some of the stuff that's more demanding, like PlayStation 2, Sega Saturn, and whatnot, you're easily, before you even make any type of completed set, you're easily somewhere around 2 or 3 terabytes. And I don't think that's going to be sufficient. I believe going forward, it will be best to just make a particular ROM set, maybe keep it at about 256, 128. You know, add some little basic stuff on there. But the days of fully loaded images, after looking at this, is over, because these newer systems, these new single board computers, obviously can emulate much higher games, much more demanding games, but the file sizes for each one of those are on an average of about 4 gigabytes. So is somebody going to make a preloaded image of 25 terabytes just for PlayStation 2? And that's just PlayStation 2. That's not including marquees, video snaps, bezel art, any of that stuff? No, absolutely not. So we definitely want to be sensible about a lot of stuff, because even it takes several hours, maybe 2 days for most people to extract a 1 terabyte image. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. So yeah, I definitely believe in keeping some of these smaller systems on here, because they don't, you know, it doesn't take up too much time or whatever. But in terms of just making a fully loaded image, especially with some of these more demanding systems, it's not going to make sense going forward. So let's go ahead and get into some gameplay. I want to show you guys some footage of Time Crisis and also Def Jam Vendetta, and I hope you guys enjoy it.
Action! Reload. Continue. Reload.
beautiful place on Earth, where everyone is welcome. Together, we can explore the wonder and beauty of Mexico. Experience true freedom. Feel alive. Let's go together as friends. True freedom. Feel alive. Let's go together as friends and family. You may ask, are we ready for what happens next? My friend, one thing I have learned chasing the horizon. Sometimes you just have to let go and enjoy the ride.
¡Bienvenidos a México! See you on the other side! Follow that car! Past me! There might be a little bit of traffic ahead. Watch out for that.
So as you guys can see, Def Jam Vendetta runs pretty good, and I'm also impressed and happy with the performance for Time Crisis 2 for the most part. There are some tweaks I can add, or you guys can add on your own time, as far as trying out some of the additional shaders and also changing out some of the resolutions. But you know, overall, for getting the single board computer, and I think the more these sell, the prices will drop. This is what, $127, and I know that for $159, the Orange Pi company, they released a 32GB version just a couple of days ago. So obviously RAM is not going to make too much of a difference, but going forward, for some of the newer images and stuff that we're going to be working with, I would highly suggest any of you please stick with the 8GB versions, even if you're getting the Orange Pi 5 or the Raspberry Pi 5. Either 8 gigabytes of RAM is going to be good. We got some things we were planning on, and so looking at all the resources and everything that it's going to use, I do believe that you're going to want to use the 8GB versions. And of course, we'll cover that in some further details. But this is available right now via Patreons and for subscribers. If you guys need the link, you guys know where to find me and subscribe if you do want this particular image. If you already have Beta 8, there are some significant changes in the background in terms of the themes, in terms of how everything works. If you're already a subscriber, this was available as of last week. I just haven't had a chance to get around to making a video on this. Again, the light gun stuff does work. I don't think the Supreme Ascendant light gun is installed on here for you guys to take advantage of it. I'm not sure if it's built in. In fact, let me take a look. Let's take a look at the Supreme Online Toolkit. I don't think I've actually taken a look at it from the Orange Pi 5 side of things, but it may be on here. Well, let's see here. We got Orange Pi installers. All right, we got that. Check for updates. No updates found. All right, we can escape out of here. All right, so none of that stuff has been fully integrated over, but I really hope you guys enjoy this. It's been a work of love, been a very trying work, labor of love with a lot of the things. And then in a couple of months, we will have some more updates that I will release for you guys. And additionally, we also have the new Orange Pi 02W. We will be working on some type of emulation front end with that. If you guys aren't familiar with that, that's like the Raspberry Pi 02W with the GPI case. So this is a, I'm not going to say so much better version, but it is a more powerful version. But, you know, again, with the whole driver support and whatnot, you know, we got to factor that in. But again, yeah, this is 256 gigabytes running Retropie. I think you guys will love it. Some of the older systems will run better on here, but it's been a really fun experience. In fact, it opened our eyes into a lot of different things that we can do to get the most out of your money. This was not, if you guys remember when I said when I first bought these, was that if the only thing we could run on here is the stuff that the Raspberry Pi 4 could do, then it would be a loss. It would be a waste. It would be a failure, because we didn't jump into this just to do the same old thing that you guys could do with some of the other underpowered boards. I mean, you guys are looking for something that can do a little bit more for your money if you're willing to make that investment, because that's what gaming is about. It doesn't make sense to spend additional money if you're just getting the same old tired stuff. So with that being said, make sure you guys give us a like and subscribe. Make sure you subscribe to my Facebook groups. Also, thank to the SupremeTeam members for investing their time checking out the bases, doing all the little different tweaks. There's a lot of stuff going on in the background. And again, we do have a Raspberry Pi 5 Retropie image that is confirmed working. However, I don't have one to make any videos of it. We've checked all the files and whatnot, and so you will hear my thoughts on that. We know that the Raspberry Pi 5 is coming out October 23rd. Micro Center will have some in the store that day. I got that confirmation. I have about 2 or 3 of them on order, but if you're a company out there, you guys want to get something expedited, just email me or give me a ring and we can get something expedited for you. But again, all of my releases, whether they're optimized, whatever the case might be, goes to supporters first, and then of course they'll eventually make their public release. So you guys all have a great day. This is KDK Kiodiekin. I will catch you guys later. This has really been fun. Please leave a like or comment if you have any questions at all. I will be addressing them in some upcoming videos, because I know some of you want to know what the comparison differences are between the Orange Pi 5 and the new Raspberry Pi 5 coming out, and whether you should upgrade or get something like this. So I'll catch you guys later. Peace out. Bye-bye.